Washington. Welcome, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. This is Fix My Fundamentals Live, the call-in show. And today we're going to go over part two of this, of what I covered earlier today. How to practice cleaner articulation with 3 practice techniques. In part one, I talked about 2 of those practice techniques. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the last one. And I also want to make this a call-in show. So if you want to jump on, please do. Click the link in the description, either above or below this video, if you're on YouTube or Facebook. If you're on Instagram, just go ahead and try to jump in via Instagram. Cool. All right. So welcome everybody that's here. What's up, Cassie? What's up, Lab, on Instagram? All right, so let me recap from last video's topics. So the first 2 techniques, the first technique was doing wind patterns. And what are wind patterns? Wind patterns are just blowing wind using your embouchure, and then you add on the resistance first, then with the mouthpiece, and then blowing air through the trumpet, and just trying to get a solid and clean wind pattern. If you want an example of that, go ahead and check out the previous video. I go into more depth about that. The second practice technique was target practice. Target practice. You can target 1 note at a time, and this is just about the release of the note. How in the first technique is all about the attack. In the second technique, it's about the release. So in the release, in this instance, we want a really nice and open resonant sound. Nice open resonant sound. So we're not cutting off the note with the tongue in this case. I know in other genres, like in Black American music, where we call which we call jazz, we do tongue stops all the time. We do tongue stops all the time just for added effect. But we don't want that to be a habit, right? We want to have varying degrees of releases, varying degrees of articulation and attacks. So if you want to learn more about that, go ahead and watch the previous video and how I explain and how I demonstrate how to do those 2 practice techniques. Cool? All right, we got a few people in the building. What's up, Wave Magnetic on Instagram? What's up, Ami? Welcome back. Welcome back. Cassie Edwards says, I got to use my mom's account. My name's Braylon. Okay, what's up, Braylon? Glad that you're here. All right. So today, right now, it is a call-in show. So if you're on Instagram, go ahead and hit me up on Instagram. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, go ahead and click the link to join the show, either above or below the video in the description. All right, so what's this third technique? This third technique is something that I kind of messed around with and was just experimenting with. Something no one really told me, but for some reason it helps me a lot to really clean up my articulation. And that practice technique is kind of what I call articulation spectrum. I call it articulation spectrum because I'm for certain, like say if I take a note, right? Take a note, G, second line G, right? So I'm going to go throughout the spectrum of the longest of long, the tenuto of tenutos, and the shortest of short, the staccato note that's like really short. And so I do each and every single type of articulation that I can think of, so I can have variety. I know before I said that we need a variety of releases and a variety of attacks. So this is how I practice a variety of attacks, is something that I call articulation spectrum. So I do For this instance, you can pick any note. It can be G. It can be a note above the staff, a note below the staff, and then I'll do tenuto, which is all long, all legato, and then I'll do the shortest of short, which is staccato. All right, so let me demonstrate that. So I'm playing second line G. I'm just going to do 4 quarter notes each, rest in between. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1. Last time. Ready. Go. All right. So I make sure that I'm able to, for tenuto, I make sure that the notes are touching each other. We want to make sure the notes are touching, and we use more of a do syllable to make it nice and smooth, like creamy peanut butter, right? So I do that, and then next I do the shortest of short, which is staccato, and I try to make this as percussive, as short as possible. So I kind of stretch out my limits on how short I can make it. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last time. 2. Ready. Right? So I try to make it as short as possible. However, I'm not stopping the tone with my tongue like I said before in the previous video, the previous live. What I'm doing is remaining open, remaining nice and free, open oral cavity, relaxed upper body, right? So now this is how I practice, just not single notes, but you can also practice this with phrases that you're learning. That could be a lick that you're learning. It could be some music that you're working on. And I would say try to do this exercise or apply this exercise to anything that you're learning. So make everything tenuto, right? Then make everything staccato. And then what you can also do is also make everything like accented, to where there's a big explosion in the beginning and then a taper on the end. So something like this. This is an accent. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last time. 2, 3. Right. So then you're covering a lot of bases. You're covering your shortest of short, your longest of long, your marcato, your staccato, your accent, right? So as instrumentalists, we want to be as flexible and versatile as possible so we can really emote and get the point across through the music. We just don't want to have a wrench, right? We don't want just to have one tool. We want to have a wrench. We want to have a hammer. We want to have a tape measure. We want to have all these things so we're prepared to play anything, right? And even with painting, you just don't want to paint with one color. You want to paint, and not even just one shade, right? There's different shades of red. There's different shades of blue, pink, all that type of stuff. So it's really important that as musicians, we practice varying degrees of articulation, style, everything, right? Last point I want to make about clean attacks is, if you really want a clean attack, it's really about the rebound of the tongue. So after you articulate, that tongue gets out of the way as quick as possible, because we don't want that tongue to get in the way of the air, of the wind that we're putting into our instrument. So as soon as you articulate, get that tongue out of the way. That's what my tongue is doing, right? As soon as you articulate, as soon as you strike the note, make sure the rebound of the tongue gets out of the way. We just don't want the tongue to stay there. Like I usually hear with most players, they keep the tongue right on where they struck. And so you want to make sure you get that tongue out of the way as fast as possible. All right. So let me, I guess, demonstrate this on something really easy. So last time I talked about the Getchell, and the Getchell book, the first studies, the first practical studies for trumpet, is just an excellent book all around. It's easy enough for people to practice all types of things, transposition, but in this case, let's practice articulation. So if you have this book, I'm looking at the first study. What's up, John Robert on YouTube says, welcome back, Aaron. Time for some knowledge. Thanks a lot. No problem, John. Thank you for being here. So far, does that make sense to everybody? Everyone that's here? While I get this book. So this is first book of practical studies for trumpet by Robert W. Getchell. And so I'm just going to be playing just the first line. Just the first line. Robert says, "Yup, it makes sense. Excellent." Cool. All right, so for this case, I'm gonna practice the first four bars. I'm not gonna kill y'all with the entire line. Let's just practice the first four bars of the Getchell. And so what I'm gonna do first is play it all tenuto. Like all the notes are gonna be touching. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, that wasn't really good, the first attack. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So I made sure everything was touching. All the notes were touching. There was no space unless I had to take a breath, which I should have took a deeper breath at the beginning so I can make it a 4-bar phrase, right? Okay, so now let's make it all staccato. So I'm going to clip off each note. I'm not going to play the note. If it's a whole note or a half note, I'm not going to play it full value, right? So this is what it's going to sound like. So all staccato, all short. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? You guys hear that? So I want that note to be as short as possible, but still have some chord to the sound. So I'm remaining open. My oral cavity is open, and I'm just clipping off that note, right? Now let's do it accented. So I'm going to accent each and every single note. So there's going to be a huge explosion at the beginning, and then a decay of volume. Ta, 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 ta. Let's play that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So what I also recommend when you do this is to record yourself. Record yourself doing these different types of articulations so you can listen back. I'm definitely going to listen back to this after I'm done and see how well did I do my accents, because I'm always working on my accents because that's my weakest thing. Having a nice chord to the sound and then decay. But yeah, record yourself while you do this and then listen back. Cool? So, Jorge, what's up? On Facebook says, "You the GOAT." Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Henry says, The first practical book for Getcho is always a good one to learn from. I still have it. Yeah, I have this one. I have the next one too. I think the second book. Thank you, thank you. So all does all that make sense? So you can take these. It's really a simple approach to just practicing clean articulation. Another tip, and I want to get to some callers. So you guys, go ahead and call in. Have your trumpet ready, and I would like to help as many people as possible in this live. So the tip I also want to communicate is that what's also important with your articulation is how you breathe. Excuse me. It's how you breathe. How do you take in that breath? Um, Before I flubbed the beginning of it, and that's all because I didn't take a good inhale. So you want to make sure when you breathe, when you inhale and exhale, first of all, when you breathe, it's two motions, in and out. What you don't want to do is do a three-step process: in, hold, and out. We don't want to do that only because with that slight hold, there's a little bit of tension that's going to creep into your playing, and we don't. And as trumpet players, we don't want any tension, unnecessary tension, in our playing. So it's a two-step process. Our air is always moving. Air is always moving, in and out, in and out. So you want to make sure that it's in time, and you get a nice deep breath when you need it, right? So for instance, there's certain phrases that you're gonna need to breathe differently on. So I remember a professor at Illinois State. I was doing while I was doing music education. I was in brass studies, so I was learning all the brass instruments. And our trombone professor, uh, Mr. Babbitt, I think that's his name. He explained to us that in order for us to have a quality first note, we gotta breathe in the style. We gotta breathe in the style of the note, and we have to breathe for that note. So what does that mean? What does that mean to breathe in the style and to breathe with the note in mind? So, for instance, if I'm playing a low C, I'm gonna breathe differently if I were to play that, if that first note was a C above the staff, right? So if I'm playing a low C, I'm prepping my oral cavity, I'm prepping my breath to play that low C. Do, do. So I'm keeping everything low and I'm prepping my oral cavity. Or if I want to play short, I'm prepping my oral cavity, so I'm making sure my oral cavity is prepped for the note that I'm about to play. And I'm also got the note in my mind. But say if I were to play it in a very short staccato style, I'm not going to breathe the same way with as much broadness. I'm going to breathe right. I'm not going to breathe the same way that I play legato, or the same way I will play a ballad. I'm not going to breathe the same way when I play a fast funk tune, right? So keep that in mind. So when we breathe, we have to first breathe in a two-step motion, in and out. We got to breathe in the style of the music, and we have to breathe as brass players. We have to breathe for the note that we're about to play. And so we don't either overshoot the note or undershoot the note. We want to make sure that it's right on the money. Cool, does that make sense? Does that make sense to anybody? To breathe in a style and to breathe to breathe for the note that you're about to play. Like for instance, Like if I were to play G above the staff. See, I overshot that note. My oral cavity was not in alignment with the note that I wanted to play. So right? So I have to breathe differently than when I play above the staff versus in the staff versus below the staff. And so if you practice these techniques, um, wind patterns, target practice, and articulation spectrum, you should be well prepared to play any note that's on the page. Cool. Well, those are my tips. That's my advice. Now I would love to help people that are struggling with their articulation. If you would like, the call is now open. Ahmed says yes, it does make sense. Cool. Yugen says thumbs up. Thank you. Ahmed says I'm not at home. I'm not home like earlier, so I'm gonna have to use these approaches later. No problem. No problem. Right. I like exactly, Robert. When I said to breathe for the note, use the syllable for sure. Use the syllable that's going to be that's applicable to the note. So if it's a higher note, use T. Tss, tss. Or if it's a lower note, use ooh. Very good. Very good comment. That was excellent. Chase Kirby says, thank you for the tips. You helped me so much with my scales. Excellent. Glad I can help with the scales. Jay, Jay says, hey, Aaron, when you say prep, do you mean the amount of air you take in? That does have something to do with it. Depending on depending on the phrase, you don't want to breathe too much and you don't want to breathe too little. So when you breathe in, make sure that you're not tanking up. Whereas every time you take a breath, you're not releasing it enough, and so that also causes tension when we breathe in too much. So the amount of air does take a toll. So make sure that you breathe enough, and that's just a balancing act with the air. So that's a good question. Very good question. The amount of air does matter. Cause say if it was like a piece of music, right? And they have all these breath marks, but I mean sometimes I might not need all of those breath marks. I might just need the pause, right? So I won't breathe there. If I do breathe there, I gotta make sure that I'm not tanking up. Whereas I get really tight in my chest, and then all my air is stuck in my body, and I just gotta blow it out. Um, so very good question, very good question. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like it. Give me some hearts on Instagram. Share this video with other folks that might enjoy this content. There's 8 folks here on YouTube slash YouTube and Facebook. There's 4 folks on Instagram. Thank you for being here. And again, John Roberts says, whatever note you play, picture in your mind. For sure. Definitely. I was teaching today earlier, and it was all about like hearing the note. Like hearing the note before we play it. As brass players, that's the most important thing that we do. We we have to hear the note first. If we don't, then we're just guessing. Jay says, "Yeah, I see. Thanks." Jake from the UK. What's up, Christian? Yes, Christian. Crawford Music on Instagram. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the live. If there's no further questions, I'll just leave it. Leave you guys be. Enjoy the rest of your night. But I would love to help anybody that needs any help with their articulation. And that's all we're covering today. So please stay on topic. Let's see. Let me put the link in the chat just in case. I mean, it says you're a great teacher, sir. Thank you so much. It's just about, being a good student. Ooh, I don't want to go back. Um, for me, I devote me being a great teacher is just through being a great student and being observant and aware. Awareness is key, man. If you're aware, that's like half the battle. So I just put some links in the chat. So if you want to join, there it is. If you're aware of what you're doing, um, and you know what you want, that's half the battle. Then you just go for it. Um, while I kind of while I kind of stall here. So for me, I know there's like a lot of there's a lot of people that don't take lessons or are self-taught that use books and that use videos and stuff like that. So one of the things I want to impress upon you guys is that if you are studying on your own, is that we're all like us individually, we're our best teacher. You are your own best teacher because you're with yourself 24/7, 24/7, 365. And so you're playing the best. All the teacher can do is really give you some advice on maybe some tips and things like that. But we got to take that stuff and apply it to the practice room. Never go into like a practice. Never go into like a lesson thinking that a teacher has all the answers for you. They have tools, of course, but you got to do something with those tools. You got to go in the practice room and you got to do the work. What's up, Ben? Ben Dixon on Instagram. And so the year that I was done with my applied lessons, I had fulfilled all of my credits for applied lessons. Um, I decided to exit the studio only because I really want to focus on one thing. I want to focus on getting my fundamentals together. And you might be shaking your head and like scratching your head, like, what are you talking about? Like, didn't you guys focus on fundamentals in your applied lessons? Yes, we did. But we also focused a lot on, jury pieces, etudes. There was master classes. And not saying that those master classes weren't good. However, I felt like it was too much stuff for me to really digest and sit down with. So I took that time, that year or so, and I really was in the shed, just working on fundamentals, getting my sound right, getting my embouchure right. Um, and I didn't want to do it for a grade. I wanted to do it for myself because I know that's what I needed. So, um, what I did was to be my own teacher was I recorded all of my practice sessions, and when I was walking to class, I would listen to those practice sessions and just take mental notes, right? Take mental notes like what did I hear? What was good about it? What was not so good about it? What can I improve? And I made those adjustments. I listened back tirelessly. I took videos of myself to make sure that my embouchure was good, you know, and so I took everything that I've learned from all of my teachers, and I just applied that information. I took the time to apply the information. However, what was great about that is that I had that information. I had that background of lessons of people giving me critique, and I just used it. I was like, okay, how can I apply this? So I just pretended I pretended as if my teachers were in the practice room with me. And I would always ask myself, what would Dr. G say about this? What would Mr. Bowen say about this? What would uh what would Miss Haldeman say about this? I remember all my teachers that gave me advice and gave me critique. What would they say about me playing my scales this way? Did I have a nice clean tone, even tone throughout? Did did I have did I breathe correctly? Was it a two-step process? Did I breathe with did I open up well enough and all that? So, you got to ask yourself questions in the practice room. What if? How can I make this better? What's good about it? And make the adjustment and experiment, you know? So if you don't have a teacher and you never took private lessons, consume as much information as you can and then apply it right away. Cool. That's my only thing about people that are learning online or learning without a teacher. I know it's expensive. I know. That's why I want to do this stuff. It's expensive to take private lessons, especially weekly. So you got to do the work in order to get yourself at a level that you feel comfortable with. But you can't sit around and think that one teacher has all the answers for you because they don't. They don't. They don't have the same experience that you do, right? So get to work. Yugen says gold words. Cassie says, can you make a video on how to make up jazz licks? That's an excellent question. I'm glad you brought that up, Cassie. Or brought that up, Braylon. Braylon is I did a master class or a workshop on how to create your first lick, and I did that over Zoom, and I still have the recordings of it. I still have the recordings of it, so I haven't made it available to the public yet. It's called Create Your Lick Workshop, and I go over some fundamental concepts that I think it's that will help you create your own licks. So uh, I'll I'll make that a part of my Patreon actually. I'll because I only have one tier, so I'll make that available on my Patreon. Go to patreon.com/the Black Trumpeter. Go to patreon.com/the Black Trumpeter. I'll make those recordings available for people that want to have access to that workshop for the tier. I don't know what I'm going to make it yet, but be on the lookout for that. So subscribe to my Patreon at patreon.com/the Black Trumpeter if you want to get more exclusive content. I do post more stuff on there, and also that workshop that I have available. Good question. What else? Any other questions? Are there any tips? Are there any tips with not getting so much spit in your mouthpiece valve opener thing? Um, I don't know. I would say I really don't have an answer for that because you're going to deal with that because you know it's condensation. Like the more you blow into it, like the more condensation builds up. And I also know like when it's cold outside, say if it's really cold outside and you're playing your instrument, that warm air versus the cold temperature is going to really affect how much condensation comes out of that, uh, the the water key. I can't even think of it. Lord have mercy. But one thing is like sometimes like when you lay your horn down, like there's like things that like dribble out. So just make sure that before you put the horn on your face, like you just wipe it off and make that a habit. I've made that a habit because I don't like the feeling either. I hate when I put my horn up to my lips and it's just got that dribble on like so every time you play, go ahead and just wipe the inside of the cup out first. That's going to be something that you're just going to have to deal with. It comes with the territory of playing trumpet or playing a brass instrument anyway. Henry says, solo, I want to solo, need help. Uh, Great. Check out my video called F Blues Soloing. Easy way. I think it's like how to create a melody from how to create a solo from a melody. So F Blues Soloing. That should get you off to the right foot for now. I am planning on doing an exclusive course on my Patreon outside of the workshop that I did before, but it's going to be um, a course that talks about the skills needed in order to improvise. There's going to be like five or six skills that we all need to be able to do in order to solo and create our own licks. So be on the lookout for that. If you want to get a jump start on that or be ahead of the curve, go ahead to patreon.com/the black trumpeter to sign up. It's only going to be available through my Patreon. Emma says that doesn't work for a 10-minute marching show. Oh, for the I mean, do your best. Do your best with just or just let it dribble down your lips. I mean, there's nothing more I can say about that. I mean, Jay says you may have spoke about this before, but what's the different types of articulation? Great question. Uh, I'll I'll rehash that. So the different types of articulation is tenuto, very long. The notes are touching. Tenuto. Then we got accented, where there's a big explosion at the beginning, and then a little bit of a decay of the note. Right? So there's a little decay between each note. And then staccato, of course, is just short. Now there's also Marcato. I'm still working on Marcato and trying to figure out what exactly does it sound like. It's kind of a combination of an accent and a staccato. So I don't know if I'll be able to demonstrate that clearly enough. But those are the varying degrees of articulation. The longest of long and the shortest of short. Did a quick search, saw some stuff. Cool, cool, cool. Excellent question. Emma says, it's so gross when you're just marching, you just have to play through the spit. Yeah, I've been there. I've been there, Emma. Like, and me personally, I don't enjoy marching band, and that's why I became drum major, so I didn't have to march. I became drum major, so I didn't have to march. All I had to do was wave my hands, give commands. Yeah, it was fun. Went to drum major camp, the whole nine. It was fun. I didn't have to march. I was good at it, but I just didn't like playing and marching at the same time. So I understand your pain, but sometimes you just got to play right through it, unfortunately. Cassie says, right, it's $3 per month. Yeah, that's my Patreon, $3 per month. All right, folks. Henry says, do you give private lessons? Where can I find the Patreon? Patreon is in the description, either above or below the video. You can also go to www. It's also scrolling on the screen. Patreon.com/the Black Trumpeter. I do give private lessons, and the private lessons are the link to that. If you want to schedule a private lesson with me, the link, if you're on Instagram, go to the link in my bio, and it will direct you to a scheduling app. Here on Facebook and YouTube, you can just go to the description either above or below this video and click on the link. I think it's the last link on the bottom if you want to schedule a private lesson. Good question. For 30 minutes, it's $30. For an hour, it's $60. So those are the prices. I want to be extremely transparent with that because I know that's the next question. Emma says, I love marching band. I love marching band, and the only reason I didn't become drum major is because I enjoy the actual marching and performing of the show. Yeah, I mean, you do lose out on that, but for me personally, I didn't mind. Because for me, like, I could see everything. I could see the show. And so that was pretty cool. I can see everybody like get to their dot and get to their space and create a cool little image or a big image on the field. So it's a nice view from up there, from the podium. So I enjoy watching, being a spectator, and waving my hands. I know people ain't watching, so, but yeah. All right. Well, folks, this has been this has been a pretty cool show. This is the Fix My Fundamentals live. Again, my name is Aaron, the Black Trumpeter, and I don't know what our next topic should be. Maybe it'll probably have to be range for sure. But the purpose of these shows, I would love to help people that are struggling and like get on live with me, and I can help you right away and give you that one-on-one for free, you know. So maybe next time, if you're not feeling too shy or bashful. But this has been a good show. I appreciate everyone watching here on the live and here on the replay. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, and enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy the Independence Day weekend for all my American viewers. You guys take care and peace.